Was the Bills' comeback to beat the Ravens the most improbable in NFL history? Here with me today is senior NFL writer Doug Farrar and senior draft analyst and football writer Luke Easterling. And today we're going to be talking about Josh Allen and the Bills coming back from 15 down with 4 minutes left in the game to beat the Baltimore Ravens. So Doug, you wrote a piece in athlonsports.com titled Bills Shock Ravens with one of the most improbable comebacks in NFL history. What to you about this comeback was improbable?
Well, the Bills were playing a Ravens offense that were just gashing them all over the place, especially in the run game. I mean, between Lamar and Derrick Henry, they just had no answers for it. The Bills defense they played more man than usual. They blitzed more than usual. And Lamar was carving that up as a passer. I mean, it was just like every mistake the Bills made was magnified by the Ravens' offensive excellence. Neither team played great defense, which is how you wind up with a 40-41 game. But as far as improbability, with 8:37 left in the fourth quarter, the Bills' win probability was 1.1%. That's improbable. That's like Big 12 after dark back in the day. So it was among the most improbable wins in NFL history, especially when you're going up against another team of your caliber. And we've seen with, these Bills-Ravens game, like the divisional round last year, it's just, when you have two teams that good, it can come down to a few things, which this did. But the improbability, down 40-25 in the fourth quarter, and they come back and Josh Allen does everything he does. It's one of the most remarkable comebacks I've ever seen.
I think, honestly, the thing that stood out to me the most was that the Ravens defense was supposed to be this vaunted unit going into this season. And I think that's the biggest disappointment I took away from this as a, football fan or whatever, is that obviously you had two elite quarterbacks and they're going to make even the best defenses look bad sometimes. But when it's just as impressive that the Bills did this down 15 with so little time left in the fourth quarter as it is that the Ravens just let them do it. I don't know how else to, there's no way that a defense with that much talent, with that much ability on that side of the ball should give up that many points. And then, the play calling down the stretch for the Ravens was just so confusing. Again, the jet sweep on second down to Zay Flowers, and he just kind of gives himself up at the end. It was just such a strange way to finish the game. It felt like the Ravens kind of got what they deserved in terms of their just kind of like playing not to lose toward the end as opposed to playing to win. I think Lamar said after the game that he was cramping up a little bit there. He would have kind of pushed to go for it on 4th and 3. I definitely would have there. That's the kind of move you have to make if you want to not give the ball back to Josh Allen, especially with the way your defense is played. So I think that was the most frustrating thing for me, is that the Ravens defense giving up that many points that quickly. I don't care who the quarterback is. That's kind of a gut check moment for your defense, and the Ravens failed big time.
You mentioned the decision to punt on 4th and 3. Doug, you called in your piece going for it and failing being a nuclear option in reverse. So do you think the Ravens made the right decision to punt in that moment?
It was the only good decision they made in that entire drive, because first down, Derrick Henry run. Derrick Henry just fumbled in the drive before. You have an angry Derrick Henry on the field, and you're going to call an end around to Zay Flowers and then a short pass to DeAndre Hopkins, which gets 6 of the 9 yards you need for a first down. And by the way, this is something Todd Monken, the offensive coordinator, great coach generally, great coach at Georgia, but there are times when that man's brain falls out of his head and he forgets the assets he has. And all of a sudden it's pass happy and there are no option runs and there's no backfield confusion with the run game. And you're like, why were you so smart for 59 minutes and then this happens? But yeah, I think overall that decision to punt, especially knowing that Lamar was cramping, get it on their side and hope that your defense holds up against Josh Allen. Just because the defense didn't hold up against Josh Allen playing on a heater, the likes of which I've rarely seen in my years of watching football, just because it didn't work doesn't mean it wasn't the wrong decision. In that case, I think it was. I think that every other decision on that drive, except to give the ball to Derrick Henry on first down, was regrettable. I do think in the end, that was the right call.
I think, honestly, the most underrated thing that led to this Bills win that I think stood out to me was the fact that every pass catcher that got involved down the stretch and made big plays. It wasn't just the usual suspects. We've seen it from Khalil Shakir before. We've seen big moments from Dalton Kincaid before, but Joshua Palmer, a new addition in free agency. Keon Coleman had an absolute breakout performance as a second-year guy. Jackson Hawes, a day 3 pick out of Georgia Tech, who's a blocking tight end, ends up with a massive catch to set up one of the scores. I mean, Josh Allen was using everybody on the field, and everybody was delivering. Like, everybody was making a big play when they needed to. When the ball came their way, everybody from the stars to the guys that just joined the team were making big, big plays. I think that was a huge factor and shouldn't go overlooked.
Well, Palmer was supposed to be kind of their deep threat when he signed him, because that's what he always had been before. Yep. And it was kind of an under the radar signing, but I think he had a 32-yard catch on that last drive. And you could see he's got that veteran savvy, and Josh Allen obviously trusts him. So that was a big addition to their passing game. The other thing is how this is the second year where Joe Brady's been the full-time offensive coordinator. And you can see how now Josh has complete control of that offense. They have given it all over to him, as happens with all the best quarterbacks in the league. He's calling the audibles. He's calling the protections. You saw that over and over again. A guy with these physical tools who now has complete command of an offense, that has to be a terrifying thought for the rest of the NFL. And you can say this about both quarterbacks, but Lamar's been on that stage for a long time as far as having complete control of the offense. And he's had a few different ones, with Greg Roman and now Monken. But this was the first time I really saw Josh, as well as he played last year, MVP, although I voted for Lamar, as well as he's played, I saw a different level of command and control of the offense, which I think, as I said, augurs well for the Bills and should really just scare the pants off the rest of the NFL.
So after the game, FanDuel Sportsbook MVP odds shifted from Lamar being the favorite to now Josh Allen being the favorite. You both had Lamar winning the MVP this season as your prediction. Do you think otherwise now?
Josh Allen had the best Josh Allen game ever. Lamar nearly had a perfect passer rating and ran 6 times for 70 yards. On 98 out of 100 Sundays, that's going to be more than enough to win. The Ravens, per Next Gen Stats, generated the highest explosive play rate in a game over the last decade. I mean, again, most of the time that stays 40-25, or the Ravens score even more, and they just pants the opponent, and we're talking about how Lamar should have been the MVP. This was an outlier game as far as that goes, because in the end, in the fourth quarter, every negative consequence that could have happened for the Ravens, like when the Bills got it out on that punt we were talking about, there was a Raven who nearly, and it looked like actually it wasn't a touchback. It looked like there was this much grass between when they got the ball and the end zone, the plane of the end zone. So even there, the Bills get 19 extra yards. If that ball's at the 1, I don't know. So as far as this changing the narrative for either quarterback, I would say that Josh Allen is a different Josh Allen. Lamar, to me, looked like the same Lamar, just for against most teams on most days, including the Bills, it's going to be enough to win.
Yeah, I think for me, it's going to be like this every week. I think it's going to be pick 'em every week, and they're not going to have elite performances week in and week out, because we know the variance in the NFL these days. But at the end of the year, if we're having the same conversation between which one of these guys should win MVP, I wouldn't be surprised. Again, I thought it was pretty obvious that Lamar should have won it last year. But I'm not mad that Josh Allen did. It's not like he didn't have a fantastic season. But if both of those guys bring what they brought Sunday night, it's going to be fun to watch for the next 17 weeks to see who ends up walking away with it, just because they're two guys at the top of their game. And if they have anything around them at all, they're going to be in that conversation. As a football fan, I'm excited to watch it.
Yeah, I wish the Ravens and Bills could play every week. I certainly hope they meet again in the playoffs. Well, I did a recent article on the best quarterbacks in every type of situation. 2 out of 3 times, Lamar was the guy, and he gained over 1,000 yards rushing. To me, there's no question he was the MVP. He had 4 interceptions, and all 4 of them were receiver drops or location mistakes. He played as perfectly as you can expect a quarterback to play. And
rush for 1,000 yards.
Yeah, it's like this is like the evolutionary Michael Vick. This is the guy we've all been promised. So I would stick by my vote.